In Jackson, Mississippi, a black maid named Eileen works in the home of a young white woman named Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a mother, but she is not exactly hands-on with her little child. So almost everything in that house ends up on Eileen. The cleaning, the cooking, and most of all, raising the little girl day to day. One afternoon, Elizabeth plans to invite her friends over for a card game. One of them is Hilly, and Hilly's maid is Minnie. Minnie is quick, sharp, and an incredible cook. And that day, she is expected to show up at Elizabeth's house too. Then there is Eugenia. She has just graduated from the University of Mississippi. She dreams of becoming a writer, but for now, she has only landed a job at a local newspaper, the Jackson Journal. Eugenia is also heading to Elizabeth's house that afternoon because Elizabeth and Hilly are her childhood friends. But once Eugenia is sitting there with them, she cannot ignore what she is seeing. The way her friends talk about their maids, the way they treat these black women like they are less than human, it clearly bothers her. And at that card table, Hilly is especially loud about it. She goes on and on about how furious she is that Minnie has been using the toilet in her house. She even claims that black people carry different diseases than white people. Then Hilly takes it even further. She says she is pushing a new local proposal, one that would require every white home to have a separate bathroom, specifically for the black help. And since Eugenia works at the newspaper, Hilly expects her to publish an article supporting the idea.
Oh, it's just plain dangerous. They carry different diseases than we do. You ought not to joke about the colored situation. I'll do whatever it takes to protect our children.
This is where it all begins. This is The Help. After the gathering ends, Eugenia approaches Eileen. She tries to make up for what was said, and she also asks Eileen for help with her new job. In the middle of that conversation, something personal slips out. Eugenia once had a black maid named Constantine, the woman who practically raised her, but Constantine suddenly disappeared from her life. Eugenia still does not understand why, so she asks Eileen if she can help track down Constantine's contact information. Back at home, Eugenia presses her mother for answers, but her mother avoids the topic. She tries again at dinner, asking her father. He claims Constantine moved to Chicago to be with family, but Eugenia can feel the story is incomplete. She pushes harder, and she ends up accusing her mother of firing Constantine. To Eugenia, that is the real betrayal. Constantine worked for their family for 30 years. Constantine raised her, cared for her, shaped her into who she became. And in a way, Eugenia feels more emotionally connected to Constantine than to her own mother. Even though Constantine was labeled as a maid, she filled the role of a parent in Eugenia's life. Not long after, Eugenia gets an idea that feels both risky and impossible.
Now, you're not one to give me a ship. But I didn't think so, huh? You're going to do something big for Joe. You wait and see.
One morning, she calls a publisher in New York named Elaine. Eugenia tells her she wants to write a book, not from the point of view of wealthy white women, but from the point of view of the black maids who work inside their homes. She explains the cruel irony. These women raise white children, and years later those children grow up to become successful adults. Yet the very maids who helped build their lives are treated as untouchable, not even allowed to use the same bathroom. Elaine is skeptical. She tells Eugenia that in Mississippi, no maid would ever dare to speak openly. It is too dangerous. But Eugenia insists she has at least one maid who will talk to her, and with that, Elaine agrees to consider it and tells Eugenia to send a draft when she can. Hearing all this, Eugenia is thrilled. On another day, after Eileen finishes her work, Eugenia shows her a letter and explains her idea more clearly. She wants to turn interviews with black maids into a book. She wants to record their experiences, how they are treated, how they feel, how much they are paid, and what their daily lives are really like. But Eileen is firm. She says there is no way she can talk openly about her employer. Eugenia tries to reassure her, explaining that everything could be anonymous with names changed so no one's identity would be exposed. Their conversation is suddenly cut short when Elizabeth arrives home with her husband. That same day, a tornado storm hits Mississippi. The wind is so strong that the electricity goes out. Over at Hilly's house, Minnie is desperate to use the bathroom. She normally has to relieve herself outside, but with the storm raging, she briefly considers asking Hilly for permission. One look at Hilly's attitude makes her hesitate. Even when Hilly's own mother suggests letting Minnie use the indoor bathroom, Hilly refuses, brushing off the danger outside as if the storm is nothing serious. Later, when Minnie goes inside under the excuse of making tea, Hilly becomes suspicious. She checks the bathroom and realizes Minnie has just used the toilet. That is enough for Hilly. Minnie is fired on the spot and forced to leave the house immediately, even as the storm continues outside.
You go on ahead and use the inside bath, Minnie. It's all right.
Oh, for crying out loud, it's just a little rain.
I'm just gonna get you tea.
Minnie, are you in there?
Get off my toilet! Oh, you are fired, Minnie Jackson!
Meanwhile, at Elizabeth's home, Aibileen is given her own bathroom. Not inside the house, but outside, separated from everyone else. Elizabeth has finally followed Hilly's influence. As usual, Elizabeth leaves her daughter May Mobley in Aibileen's care. The child is far more emotionally attached to Aibileen than to her own mother. One morning, as Aibileen is about to catch the bus home, Eugenia approaches her again. She asks if Aibileen has reconsidered the interview offer for the book. Aibileen still says no. Her fear runs deep. She remembers how her cousin's car was once burned down simply for going to vote. If she gets involved in something like this, she fears her own home could be next. Eugenia leaves her phone number anyway, hoping Aibileen might change her mind. Aibileen's fear is not imagined. In Mississippi at the time, segregation is written into the law. Black patients cannot share hospital rooms with white patients. School books cannot be exchanged between black and white students. Public places, salons, and restrooms are strictly separated. Worse than that, any book or writing that supports racial equality is forbidden. With laws like these in place, Aibileen knows exactly what is at stake, and that is why she refuses Eugenia's offer. One night, Aibileen receives a phone call from Minnie. Minnie explains what happened after she was fired. The next afternoon, she returned to Hilly's house with a chocolate pie, pretending it was an apology. In truth, it was revenge. Hilly had been spreading rumors that Minnie was a thief, and Minnie decided to strike back. She did something truly awful to Hilly, something she refuses to describe in detail. All she says is that Hilly deserved every bit of it. One day, Aibileen finds clarity during a sermon at church. The pastor speaks about how people must sometimes be willing to put themselves in danger for the sake of others, just as Jesus once did. That message stays with her. Not long after, Aibileen quietly asks Eugenia to come to her home, making sure no one notices. That is when the interviews finally begin. Eugenia prepares questions, but instead of answering them directly, Aibileen chooses to read her own story aloud. For years, she has been writing her experiences down in a notebook, turning them into a kind of daily prayer. Eugenia then asks if there might be other maids willing to share their stories as well. Aibileen explains that for now, it is difficult, especially since Minnie has just lost her job. At the same time, over at Hilly's house, a new maid named Yule May has taken Minnie's place. That morning, Yule May asks Hilly for a loan. Her twin sons are about to start college, and without help, she can only afford to send one of them. Instead of offering support, Hilly tells her to work harder and find the money herself. Back at Minnie's home, money troubles are getting worse. To help cover household bills, Minnie's husband forces their child to quit school and start working as a maid too. Minnie does what she can, teaching her child the strict rules of survival when working for white families. Meanwhile, Minnie herself goes day after day without work, until Aibileen finally recommends her to a white woman named Celia, someone who is known for not listening to Hilly's gossip. Minnie has spent her entire life following rigid boundaries between black and white people, but Celia turns out to be completely different. She warmly welcomes Minnie, excited because it is the first time she has ever had a maid. Celia asks Minnie to work only from 9 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. She does not want her husband to know there is help in the house because she wants him to believe she manages everything on her own. Minnie agrees to the arrangement. On another day, Hilly hosts a meeting at her house. She proudly announces that her proposal for separate bathrooms for maids has reached the governor. She then questions Eugenia about the article that should have been published in the newspaper a month earlier. Eugenia assures her it will be printed soon. After the meeting, Hilly, Elizabeth, and Eugenia sit together at a cafe. Hilly casually announces that she plans to set Eugenia up with a man named Stuart. Since Eugenia is the only one of them who is still unmarried, Hilly and Elizabeth begin arranging the date. Later, while cleaning Hilly's house, Yule May accidentally finds a gold ring under a chair. Desperate for money, she slips it into her pocket. Elsewhere, Eugenia continues visiting Aibileen to record more stories. Aibileen reveals a painful truth about Elizabeth's daughter, May Mobley. Every night, the child sleeps in a dirty diaper that is not changed until Aibileen arrives the next morning, forcing the girl to stay uncomfortable all night. During one of these visits, Minnie unexpectedly shows up and is shocked to see Eugenia there. Still deeply distrustful of white people, Minnie questions Eugenia's motives and wonders why she would care about their lives at all. Uncomfortable with the situation, Minnie storms out. But outside, she stops, thinks it over, then walks back in. In that moment, she decides to join the project. Once Minnie starts talking, she cannot stop. She may be rough at first, but the moment the conversation turns to cooking, something she knows by heart, she opens up completely. And when the topic shifts to Hilly, her former employer, she becomes even more animated.
And just what makes you think colored people need your help?
Maybe things can change.
What law's gonna say you got to be nice to your maid?
You don't have to do this now, Minnie.
You damn right I don't. You two give me heart palpitations. All right, I'm gonna do it.
The conversation stretches late into the night, all the way until morning. By the end of it, Minnie suggests they should try to bring other maids into the project and start reaching out to them one by one. One evening, Eugenia goes to a restaurant to meet a man named Stuart, someone Hilly and her husband have carefully chosen for her. The meeting does not go well. Stuart comes across as arrogant and careless with his words, and before the night is over, Eugenia decides to leave. While that is happening, Minnie is slowly finding peace in her new job at Celia's house. For the first time in a long while, she works without pressure or fear. She teaches Celia how to cook, and Celia listens with genuine excitement. The two of them even sit and eat at the same table, something Minnie is not used to at all. Minnie tries to insist that Celia eat separately, but Celia refuses, treating her like an equal. Still, Minnie worries. She reminds Celia that her husband does not know she has a maid, and warns her that his reaction could be dangerous if he finds out.
We done been over this, Miss Celia.
You supposed to eat in the dining room. That's how it works. Yeah, let me take a plate back.
No, I'm fine right here, Minnie.
What?
I just want you to know I'm real grateful you're here.
Meanwhile, Eugenia stays in close contact with Elaine in New York, regularly discussing the draft of the book she has sent. Elaine is honest. 2 stories are not enough. Eugenia needs at least a dozen maids willing to speak. When Eugenia passes this message on, Minnie explains that she has already approached around 30 other maids, but most of them are terrified. They believe the idea is reckless. Their homes could be burned down and the book might never even be published. Aibileen refuses to let Eugenia give up. She shares the most painful story of her life, the death of her son. Her child was hit by a car while carrying supplies to a factory. His supervisor placed him in the back of a truck and drove him to the hospital, then left him there and drove away. There was nothing the hospital could do. He was brought home and died in front of Aibileen's eyes. For her, quitting now would mean letting everything they have written die along with her son's memory. On Sunday, Hilly hosts one of her usual parties and everyone attends. At one point, Eugenia approaches Yule May in the kitchen while she is washing dishes. She offers her the same interview opportunity she gave Aibileen and Minnie. Yule May declines. Her only focus is getting her children into college, and she cannot risk anything else. Just then, Hilly walks in, stopping the conversation before it goes too far. Soon after, Hilly confronts Eugenia, asking whether she has deliberately delayed publishing the article. Eugenia calmly explains that she has been busy taking care of her sick mother. The next morning, Eugenia is woken up by her mother with unexpected news. Stuart has returned. This time, he wants to apologize and ask her out again. Later, over dinner, Stuart mentions that he has read all of Eugenia's articles in the newspaper. He praises her talent and encourages her to write what she truly believes in, trusting that it will lead to something meaningful. Not long after, Eugenia finally publishes Hilly's article about separate bathrooms, but she has quietly altered the wording. When the article appears, it causes an unintended embarrassment. Hilly's yard ends up filled with old, unused toilets, and the neighborhood quickly takes notice. Furious, Hilly sees this as a personal attack, marking the beginning of open hostility toward Eugenia. The situation spills over at Elizabeth's home. Her daughter, May Mobley, even uses one of those outdoor toilets. Elizabeth reacts with anger, striking her child in public. Aibileen steps in, calming May Mobley and offering her gentle, affirming words to comfort her. At Eugenia's home, she and her two maids watch the national news together. The broadcast features Medgar Evers, a black civil rights activist who has been speaking boldly about equality. That same night, as Aibileen rides the bus home, the driver suddenly stops. All the black passengers are told to get off. Ahead of them, there has been a shooting. A black man has been killed. It soon becomes clear that the victim is Medgar Evers, shot by a white man. Shaken and afraid, Aibileen runs the rest of the way home. On the way, she stops by Minnie's house. The two of them talk about their fears. If anyone finds out they are working with Eugenia on a book, their lives could be in danger. Aibileen tries to stay calm. She reminds Minnie that they are only sharing their personal experiences, not leading a civil rights movement. Still, the risk feels very real. Sometime later, while working at Celia's house, Minnie hears noises coming from upstairs. She goes to check on Celia and hears her crying in the bathroom. At first, Minnie is told to leave, but the sound of Celia's sobs makes her push her way inside. That is when she realizes Celia has just suffered a miscarriage. Minnie stays with her and offers comfort, assuring her that there can still be hope ahead. One morning, as Ewell May steps off the bus, she is suddenly arrested for theft. It is Hilly who reported her after discovering that Ewell May pawned the missing ring. The arrest sends shockwaves through the community. Soon after, Eugenia is called to Abileen's house, and she is stunned to find more than a dozen maids gathered there. What happened to Ewell May has changed everything. Fear turns into resolve. One by one, the women decide they are ready to tell their stories. They explain that not all white people are like Hilly. Some are kind, and some treat them with real dignity.
I'm gonna help with your stories.
I'm on help too.
One day this farmer was waiting for me with a gun. Said he'd shoot me dead if I walked on this land again. Dr. Dixon went and paid that farmer double for 2 of those acres. But he bought that just for me, so I could get to work easy.
With this sudden wave of support, Eugenia rushes to meet the deadline Elaine has set. Elaine also reminds her to include something deeply personal in the book, the story of Constantine, the maid who raised Eugenia. Around the same time, Celia shows up at Elizabeth's house with a pie, unaware that Elizabeth and her friends are gathered inside. When Hilly hears Celia has arrived, she orders everyone to hide and ignore her completely. Celia is left standing there, humiliated and heartbroken. Later, at home, Minnie explains to Celia why Hilly treats her this way. Hilly is jealous. Celia married Johnny, the man Hilly once dated. Hilly believes Celia stole him, even though that was never true. During this conversation, Celia notices a bruise on Minnie's temple. She realizes Minnie is a victim of domestic abuse and gently tends to her wound. In this house, Minnie is not treated like property. She is treated like a human being. As tensions between black and white communities continue to rise, the three women decide to meet in private. They worry about what will happen if their identities are exposed in the book and what kind of punishment they might face. Aibileen suggests they may need some form of protection, something that could keep them safe if things turn dangerous. That is when Minnie finally reveals her biggest secret. After she was fired, Minnie returned to Hilly's house with a homemade chocolate pie. Hilly ate it eagerly, even finishing 2 slices. She even hinted that Minnie might be allowed back to work, though with her pay cut every week. At that moment, Hilly's mother also wanted a slice. Minnie tried to stop her, but Hilly angrily ordered Minnie to serve it anyway. Overwhelmed and furious, Minnie finally confessed the truth. She had put her own waste into that pie. The revelation leaves Aibileen and Eugenia completely stunned. What Minnie did could have easily gotten her killed. Minnie also explains that Hilly later punished her mother for laughing about it by sending her to a nursing home. Minnie believes this story is their insurance. If it is included in the book, Hilly will never admit it happened in Jackson, Mississippi. She would do anything to deny that she ever ate that pie. To Minnie, this secret guarantees their safety. Aibileen and Eugenia are horrified and strongly disagree, but Minnie refuses to back down. She insists they have no choice. Either the story goes in or she pulls out entirely. Not long after, Hilly hosts a charity event with her friends. Celia attends just as she promised, determined to clarify that she married Johnny only after Hilly and Johnny had already broken up. But the moment overwhelms her. After drinking too much, Celia becomes sick at the event and leaves with her mother. Mrs. Walter, who is also there, takes a jab at her own daughter by bringing up Minnie's chocolate pie, still bitter about being sent away to a nursing home. The next day, Celia tells Minnie that this life is no longer right for her. She plans to leave town and walk away from her marriage. To comfort her, Minnie finally shares the full story about the chocolate pie and what it meant. She explains that if Celia leaves Johnny now, then Hilly will have won. Before long, the manuscript is finished. 266 pages are complete. Still, Eugenia knows there is one story missing, the story of Constantine. Once again, she confronts her mother and demands the truth about what really happened. Her mother finally explains. She had once been chosen as the head of a local organization in Jackson, Mississippi, and the ceremony was held at their home, attended by leaders from the national chapter. During the reception, Rachel, Constantine's daughter, arrived to visit her mother. Out of embarrassment, Eugenia's mother ordered Rachel to enter through the back door. Rachel ignored the demand and came inside anyway to see Constantine. The white guests considered this deeply inappropriate. Constantine was punished for it, and under pressure from her peers, Eugenia's mother made the decision to fire her. Hearing this breaks Eugenia's heart. She cannot believe her mother could treat the woman who raised her with such cruelty. Her mother continues. After Constantine was forced out, she once tried to visit her, but Constantine had already moved to Chicago to be with her family. Later, she followed her there, hoping to bring her back, but it was too late. Constantine had already passed away. Eugenia is heartbroken when she learns the full truth. Constantine was the one who taught her everything that truly mattered. She was raised and shaped by a black woman who was labeled as a maid, yet acted as her real parent and moral guide. Before long, Elaine publishes Eugenia's book in New York. The book is titled The Help. For safety, every writer and contributor is kept anonymous. Thousands of copies are released, and the book quickly makes its way back to Mississippi. The royalties are shared among Minnie, Abilene, Ewell May, and more than a dozen other women who took the risk to tell their stories. At the nursing home, Mrs. Walter reads the book aloud to the other residents. When she reaches the chapter about the revenge pie, she is stunned. She immediately recognizes the story and knows it could only be Minnie. That same night, she calls Hilly and urges her to read the book, without revealing what it contains. At the supermarket, Abilene and Minnie are shocked when they see people reading their book, including white readers. The sight fills them with pride, but also nervous excitement. Unfortunately, the book's success comes at a cost. Eugenia's relationship with Stuart falls apart. He is upset by what she wrote, even though he was the one who once encouraged her to write what she believed in. The book soon goes viral. People everywhere, both black and white, are reading it and talking about it. Curiosity spreads fast, including to Hilly. When she finally reads it, she is furious and hysterical. Just as Minnie predicted, Hilly desperately insists that the book could not possibly be about maids in Mississippi. One morning, Hilly receives a check from Celia. At first, she assumes it is a donation and feels pleased, until she realizes the check is actually made out to her. Enraged, Hilly storms to Eugenia's house and threatens to sue her, claiming she has already hired a lawyer. Eugenia remains calm. Even if Hilly knows the book is hers, she has no proof. Hilly then tries to involve Eugenia's mother, hoping she will turn against her daughter. Instead, Eugenia is unexpectedly defended by her own mother. With no one left to attack, Hilly is forced to swallow her anger in silence. Because of the book's success, Elaine sends Eugenia a letter offering her a job as a junior editor in New York. Accepting the offer would mean starting a new life there. When Eugenia discusses it with her mother, she receives full support. Her mother is proud that Eugenia has grown into a brave woman who stands by her beliefs. Meanwhile, one afternoon, Minnie returns from grocery shopping and is startled to see Johnny home early. Panicked, she rushes to find Celia, afraid that Johnny might hurt her. But her fear is misplaced. Johnny has no intention of harming Minnie. In fact, he is grateful. Thanks to Minnie, his wife finally has a friend, and her emotional state has improved. Johnny believes Minnie saved his wife's life.
Minnie!
Miss Celia!
Minnie, hey, stop! Minnie!
Miss Celia!
Minnie!
Stay back!
Hey,
Miss Celia!
I'm not here to hurt you. Girl. Listen, Celia finally told me about the babies. But I also know that the minute you started working here, she started getting better. So you saved her life.
He invites her inside, where Minnie is stunned to find a special meal prepared just for her. Celia has been cooking since early morning as a way to say thank you. Minnie assumes she is about to be fired, but instead, she is offered a permanent place in the household. She gladly accepts. Johnny and Celia do not treat Minnie like a servant, they treat her like family. Because of this job, Minnie is finally able to take her children away from her abusive husband and begin a new life. On a Sunday morning at church, Aibileen is completely caught off guard. As she walks in, everyone is already there, standing and applauding her. The community thanks her for what she has done, and many bring cakes as a simple but heartfelt gesture of gratitude. Eugenia watches this moment with emotion, realizing that her book has finally become something meaningful and powerful. During that time, Eugenia shares news about a job offer in New York. At first, she plans to turn it down, worried about the safety of Aibileen and Minnie after everything they have been through. But Minnie and Aibileen insist that she should go. They reassure her that they will look out for one another and urge Eugenia to chase a better future in New York. Not long after, when Aibileen arrives at work one morning, she is called in by Hilly, who happens to be there that day. Hilly accuses Aibileen of stealing silverware that was supposedly loaned to Elizabeth. The accusation is clearly false. Elizabeth looks uncomfortable going along with it, but Hilly pushes forward and announces that Aibileen is fired. Hilly cannot send Aibileen to jail because of the book, but she tries to destroy her in another way, by framing her for theft. Fed up and exhausted by years of quiet suffering, Aibileen finally stands up for herself. After so many years of service, she walks away for good.
Aibileen, can you come in here, please? Then it behooves me to inform you that you are fired, Aibileen.
Nobody would believe what you wrote.
I don't know. I've been told I'm a pretty good writer, already sold a lot of books.
Elizabeth.
All you do is scare and lie to try to get what you want.
Aibileen, stop.
You're a godless woman.
May Mobley is devastated by Aibileen's departure. She is the last child Aibileen ever takes care of. After leaving that house, Aibileen chooses to retire, closing one chapter of her life while knowing that her courage has already changed many others forever. So, the moral of the story is that some people give their whole hearts to raising others, yet are treated as disposable. And the saddest truth is, realizing love does not always come with dignity.